Welcome to Outside the Ring. I am here with my guest, the Mysterious Movado.
Wah wah wah. Hello, Maverick. How are you and all of the people at home?
I'm good. How about you?
Well, I'm fantabulous. I'm so excited to be here with you. I understand you had some great news, and I love being on this platform. I think that you're doing great things. You're really helping to highlight a lot of the, workers in the around, surrounding areas, and I think that you're doing a great thing. So, thank you for all that you do, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, what got you into this world of professional wrestling?
What got me involved in wrestling, you say? Well, to be quite honest, I believe that ever since I was a small hybrid human before the mask came on to the old cranium,
Hmm.
my father was taking us to pro wrestling events. My brother and I were always big fans of pro wrestling. My brother being Bumpin' Ugly Bubba McKenzie, and he and I used to wrestle as kids, and growing up, it was always something we were very interested in, although we began our story of entertainment through music. So, as we were in our band, the Bumpin' Uglies, the opportunity to get involved in local independent professional wrestling kind of started. At the time, teenage kids didn't realize that there was actually independent wrestling.
Oh.
And through our friendship with the Insane Clown Posse, and actually traveling to some of these local events and actually seeing, Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe Sr.'s events. Um, Shortly thereafter, ICP purchased a wrestling ring, and kind of the rest was history. We kind of started with those guys with a promotion that was called National All Star Wrestling. This is pre JCW.
Hmm.
And it was a great time, man. To be a teenage kid and to be performing, thinking you know what you are doing, which I really didn't at the time.
Hmm.
But being on some really cool events was just incredible life experience. And it was really my brother that was really pushing to be involved in pro wrestling. His friendship with Rude Boy, Rudy Hill, he just was really pushing on Rudy that he wanted to get involved in pro wrestling. Myself, I always had an athletic background. So I had a martial arts background. I also had a background in gymnastics when I was younger. So it was something that, I was very much interested in. And because he was so interested, it kind of like pushed me, to be interested. So we kind of started that way. We were fortunate enough to be able to wrestle for the Malcolm Monroe Sr. Sweet Daddy, which is an experience I'll never forget, and I'm always going to be appreciative of the Monroe family. So that's how we started.
You brought up Bubba McKenzie. How did you guys get into teaming as the Bumpin' Uglies?
Well, it was kind of a natural extension. The reason that we started to tag team, at first we were separate entities in pro wrestling. He was always Bubba McKenzie, but I started out as a kind of a different character. And so we were kind of separate for a little while, but then throughout our stage shows as a band, what began happening with our band is that we would have several heels that we would work with on a regular basis, and we would bring them in to the concerts so that at some point of the concert, we would have a heel interrupt, and there would be some form of attack. We would have a referee jump on stage, and then now the audience is involved in a full-fledged spot, if you will, and
Hmm.
we kind of get a match going. So it kind of became an extension of that. The Bumpin' Uglies were all for one, one for all, musketeer type thing. Big time punk rock band. And it was just that idea of like us against the world. So it really just kind of became a natural extension of that to where we were the Bumpin' Uglies in the ring and we were the Bumpin' Uglies on stage. And so we just kind of, for continuity's sake, we kind of started that way. And, the rest is history. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. How long have you been wrestling for?
Oh, geez. Maverick. Well, son, I started way back in the
Shut up.
1980s. Um, I started in 1996. Now, I do have to put a disclaimer out there that, for the first few years of my career, I definitely wouldn't consider myself properly trained. I
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily getting the reps that I would get in, later in my career. So,
Yeah.
those first few years are kind of suspect as far as, the experience goes.
Mhm.
I learned what I could when I could.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I've been wrestling for a lot a lot longer than some of these people around here have been alive. It's been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. It's been my life. I've been wrestling way more than half my adult life now. At this point, we're going on almost 30 years. So it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world. It's my heart. It's my absolute passion.
Awesome. How did you find out about live pro wrestling down in Fremont, Ohio?
Well, Tim Horner Jr. is a good friend. He came through the House of Truth Pro Wrestling School. It's funny in wrestling. So much of what we do, it's networking.
Hmm.
It's you're working on the shows, you're working at a school, you're helping train people, and just by virtue of doing that and being consistent and being around, year after year, you end up having these relationships. I had wrestled him several times, and like I said, been involved at the wrestling school with Tim, and I always liked him. I always really got along with him.
Hmm.
When I saw the things that they were doing at the Strand in
Hmm.
Fremont, Ohio, I was very much impressed. And, a big part of their presentation that I really loved is that it was a music venue. And so, that resonates with me. That kind of presentation, that kind of sound system, that kind of spotlight. I really appreciated the product that Live
Hmm.
Pro Wrestling was putting forth. So it was a situation where, Tim had asked if I was available. I was already very much interested in
Hmm.
becoming a part of LPW. So we made that happen. They had, just a really great locker room of talent to work with, and definitely that's some of the best times in my singles career for sure.
Talking about LPW, you were or you are a former LPW heavyweight champion.
That's right, El Campeón.
And that one photo I sent you from that me, you, and one of my sisters got a couple years ago, going back in LPW history, it was the same night you won the LPW heavyweight champion from Superman Lover.
That's right. Big time memories, man. I mean, and so Superman Lover, I mean, that's a guy that, the Bumpin' Uglies and the Cole brothers had battles, years and years prior, coming up. So love those guys, big respect to those guys,
Oh yeah.
paved the way. So being able to, I always loved working in any way, shape, or form capacity with like Brian and Chuck.
Hmm.
I love those guys. Some people, they're, I think, a polarizing figure just because what they say sometimes ruffles people's feathers. I love that because I happen to agree with most of what they say. So,
Yeah.
um, and it's just, generationally, and it's a very, you'll see this, like things have definitely changed generationally, just in society, period, but in pro
Mhm.
wrestling, big time. So I think that as a veteran of many years, always appreciate their perspective because it's very similar to how I came up because we're kind of same time. They were a little ahead of me, you know.
Mhm. I believe they only started I think they're only like 27, 28 years.
Yeah, they when we came in, they had already done their like WWF stuff, and it was
Hmm.
big thing, man. Cole Brothers, when I got involved, it was like Skull Gans, Cole Brothers, Death Dealer Tommy Starr, like and Al Snow was around, like Rhino, Christian. When I wrestled for Malcolm Monroe, the Sweet Daddy, we
Hmm.
were on the same show as Edge and Christian and Rhino, Joey Legend, all these guys, and it was just like such a cool experience to be able to be there at a time when they were just getting going, and to be able to see everything that they've done, throughout their careers is just incredible. And now, as I sit and watch all these wrestling programs with, all the people that I've worked with throughout my career and my life, people that have helped me and people that I've helped. And it really is incredible to see where we're at, and so many fine folks like in this tri-state area that have gone on to do big things.
Yeah. How did you come up, or how did you get the ring name of the Mysterious Movado?
Well, I got to give that credit to Anthony Rivera. So, when my brother quit wrestling, I was kind of left by myself.
Hmm.
And at that time, we were the Bumpin' Uglies. We weren't really character names. It was Bumpin' Ugly number one. It was Bumpin' Ugly number two. And I needed something to kind of separate myself. I always had that Movado, Josh Movado, even when I was younger. I had the dynamic Josh Movado. So I had the Movado name. I was fairly certain I wanted to continue with that. Movado in Swiss actually means motion. And so that was, kind of the impetus of why I really liked Movado, as well as I really liked the timepieces.
Hmm.
Um, but we were about to do a show, and he had put me in a singles match, and he's like, "I'm gonna call you Mysterious Movado." I was like, "Okay." I mean, it had alliteration.
Hmm.
Several things have been talked about. Magnificent Movado, um, Mysterious Movado. I liked because I liked the idea of being mysterious. I was this
Oh.
masked figure from planet Detroit. So to me, I think that it just fit, and I didn't fight it, and it kind of rolled off the tongue, and it kind of stuck. So thank you, Anthony Rivera. I love you for many reasons, and Earth Round, but hey, love you, bro.
Um, Going back to LPW, back at I believe it was Fight for Fremont 3 when you fought Karam
Yeah.
in that briefcase on a pole match.
Mhm.
After the show and whatnot, I got a signed picture from you. Still have it from all those
No
years.
kidding. Really?
I hope you came to see it. But
Oh yeah, just took it off the screen.
yeah,
I don't know if it
yeah.
like the Zoom meeting filter took it.
Yeah, yeah.
Figure out a way to get it on camera for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you have that. Like I just appreciate so much the fact that like you remember all these years.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that one.
Yeah.
That
And
photo was
this,
actually taken in Toronto, Canada,
oh,
wrestling for Demand Lucha.
and that was my wrestling first signed wrestling picture.
No kidding?
No
Wow.
kidding.
Here, let me give you the heart gimmick. There you go. My man. Way to go, little bro. That makes me feel great, man. That you still have that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Thank you for your support.
absolutely. And I remember during that match, like my dad, because it's like me, my dad, some of my sisters, stuff were there. And during the match, I think you said like money fell out of the briefcase or something, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what,
Well,
but
that was the
something
whole
fell out
thing.
of the briefcase.
Yeah, they've been kind of flaunting that they had some kind of money in the briefcase. So I was just kind of trying to get at them, like I took some of their money.
Um, do you have any favorite matches or moments from your career, even though you've been doing it for quite this time?
Man, so many, um, so many. I just have been so fortunate. I haven't been around in a few years here, so I think that sometimes in the area, it's if you're not around, you're kind of like kind of a little bit of forgotten. But I mean, I even if everything ended for me and I never wrestled a match again, I've just been so fortunate to do so many cool things.
Oh,
I'd have to say, like my first time in the ring in Mexico, um, just absolutely meant the world to me. Um, a main event that I had for Ooh La La Lucha at St. Andrews Hall. My brother had not been around in many years, and he was a surprise for me that night. And Sam Adonis, the big heel, was the champion. And, against all odds, he kind of threw everything at me with all of his people. And in the end, my brother showed up and kind of was able to put that down. And it was such a special moment for me, and it meant so much,
Oh,
um, to have him there. And I regained the Ooh La La championship. That was a really special moment. I think, being in the ring with Ultimo Dragon, being in the ring with La Parca, Blue Demon Jr., being able to wrestle at Arena Mexico in front of 10,000 people. These are things that I will just never forget. Being able to train with
oh,
Solar, in Mexico City, training with the legendary Solar, spent a day with Mojo McQueen and I, just private training. I mean, these are just things like I'd never in my life imagined, that I would be experiencing these
oh,
things, but it's all thanks to professional wrestling, and it's all thanks to you. I mean, if you really think about it, everything is
oh,
predicated on the pro wrestling fan. And this is why, my philosophy has always been so fan centric, and I've always taken it so personally. It's such a responsibility to me, professional wrestling. And so, sometimes to my detriment, I take it so seriously. But these
mhm,
are things that, when I was able to be a coach, and I do definitely miss that role, but when I was able to be a coach at the House of Truth, these are the things that, I gave to my students as well. And I'm so proud of all of their accomplishments. So many of the memories now that I'm very proud of are really kind of living, vicariously
mhm.
through the students that I've been fortunate enough to experience and be able to mentor. So that's some of my latest new memories here. And I love watching them.
Yeah. I feel like you, as Mysterious Movado, have gotten over like an LPW. I would, you'd always hear fans cheering for you.
Right on. Well, thank you, man.
Mhm.
It's getting over, right? I
Oh,
mean, it's
mhm.
it's it's the it's the whole thing. Sure, you have to know how to wrestle.
Oh,
What we're doing is professional wrestling. It's a very serious craft, and you
yeah.
have to know how to do it. But at its core, the ability to connect with an audience. And what I always tell people is, when you're a baby face, when you're that good guy, it's you and the audience. It's We are on a tag team journey here. Without you, without your support out there, like I can't do it alone, right?
Mhm.
Um, and those are the times where maybe when that support isn't there, then you have to do it alone. That's a different captivating type of a story. But like at its core, it's that connection with the audience, right? The
Oh,
ability to make a great number of people feel special and to have a collective experience where, again, they can escape reality for a little bit.
mhm.
And I think that that's ultimately the best thing because I know firsthand, unfortunately, like how difficult life can be. And I think everyone else on the planet knows that.
Mhm.
Everyone else has these battles and struggles that we fight through. But professional wrestling is such a great art form that it allows us to escape reality and, at its core, just have a little bit of theater, have a little bit of fun, and not take ourselves too seriously, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Bouncing all over the place. Going back to LPW back in, you weren't here, but back in June for their final or so-called final fight for Fremont,
Mhm.
Chuck Cole or Superman Lover goes under two, but he came out for a tag team title match or a tag team title match. He was throwing names out there that he called or wanted to team with, and your name was one that was thrown out there.
Mhm. No, he did contact me. It's a big regret I wasn't able to be in a position where I could perform at that point because LPW meant a lot to me, still does, and I really wish I could have been able to do that. I just was not in the condition to be able to perform, just
Mhm.
physically. So, and I'm still trying to come back from being out of the ring for 3 years, 2.5 years. It's not having those steady reps on this body that I've worked on and wrestled on for all of these years. I've
Mhm.
definitely found it to be not necessarily ring rust where I don't know what I'm doing, but it's the recovery.
Oh.
And so it's the recovery is a lot more detailed, a little bit more
Mhm.
length of time, to recover these days. But I do regret not being able to be there. But yeah, he did contact me, and big ups because I think that would have been a really cool moment.
Mhm. And even though you didn't make it, I feel like you still have done quite a bit for LPW and all the fans.
Well, thank you for saying that. I take a big responsibility, and anytime anyone hands, they don't hand me a championship, I earn it.
Hmm.
And that means it just not showing up. That means a lot, representing the company. And again, that connection with the fans, it's always been at my core of who I am.
Hmm. Who would you say were some of the toughest opponents that you have faced?
Oh, geez, so many.
Hmm.
You know, Madman Pondo and Necro Butcher from my early days. Definitely those guys. Um, but Sam Adonis, my feuds with Sam Adonis. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed anytime I got in the ring with Freedom Ramsey. He's one of the people I was able to kind of mentor earlier on and take him on the road, and he's a tremendous talent. Logan, Dread King Logan, wow. We want to talk about a tough dude
Hmm.
and a strong dude. I would love to lock horns with that guy. I'm hearing he's coming back, and as am I on the comeback trail. So I'll be looking for Dread King. Um, I mean, Madman Fulton. I mean, when I start to just like the DBA, first of all, tough. You want to talk about tough?
Oh.
Talk about DBA, Rhino. I mean, like, there's so many.
Hmm.
Look, just to do this, what we do, you have to be incredibly tough, regardless
Oh.
of what gimmick and anything else.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. And I just think that sometimes some of the gimmicks maybe not don't get enough attention as far as their toughness. As
Hmm.
far as one of the younger guys that I think is just amazingly tough would be Tanner Nix. So I'm really hoping that eventually, he's had some situations, health wise. I'm hoping he's able to come back. Because he's definitely a tough dude. Regardless of what you think about his gimmick, Alex Van Zant,
Oh.
AVZ, he's a tough SOB. And I've been in the
Mhm.
ring with him and he knows what's up. So I'll give him credit there. And there's just, for me, guys, there's just like too many to name. But
Yeah.
those are some that just, rolled off my tongue there.
Yeah. Talking about AVZ and going back to LPW with Jock Sampson. There's a
Yeah.
couple
Oh, yeah.
matches.
Jack, big time. Jack Sampson,
Mhm.
big time. Absolutely.
There's a couple matches where I see that you've been unmasked during a match, but
Mhm.
covering up your face. Where does that, or when do you decide, or who decides when it's a good time to do that during a certain like storyline or rivalry?
Well, I mean, it's not to give away, I guess, all the magic, but right, it depends. It's usually not something that you just do on a whim. It's something that you
Mhm.
kind of build to.
Oh.
Um, I, I've always been pretty crafty in that regard. Unfortunately, when the mask gets removed, sometimes it inhibits my ability to kick out of a pin
Mhm.
because I don't want to show my face. So
Oh.
that then does result in some loss. Usually if I find myself where I'd be in that situation, I unfortunately I've lost in that situation. However, also to combat that, then definitely a man of 100 masks, and I would have sometimes a mask on underneath so
Oh.
that they would think, "Ha ha, I got their mask." And then I'd still have a mask on underneath. So that's always one of my favorite things to kind of. It's kind of like, you got to get up pretty early.
Yeah, talking about having multiple masks on during your rivalry with Jock Sampson in your final match with that loser wears a dress match
Yeah,
where you
right.
thought he unmasked you.
Yeah, yeah. Good memories, man. What a
Mhm.
great talent. Like I
Oh.
said, he's definitely among them, man. I've been just so fortunate to be hooked up with really talented people that are very graceful with me and that, allow us to take the fans on a good ride.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully There's more to come. So I'm just working on trying to get healthy and so that I can feel proud again of, when I'm presenting to the audience. Again, I take it very seriously. So it's at my heart. It's what I love to do, which is
Hmm.
why I have wrestled several matches in the past 6 months just to kind of get
Try to
that
get back.
passion back going. But definitely you're gonna see, some hints of Movado kind of evolving again, and I look forward and I'm excited to see where it goes. Towards the middle of the year, maybe end of the year, be on the lookout, for some
Oh.
changes. So
Who is someone that you would want to face in the future?
huh, everybody,
Fair enough.
every single buddy. Buzz Aldrin, I got your number, buddy. Coming for you, Buzz.
I seen that you were fortunate enough to wrestle a match for AEW.
Yeah.
What was that like, being able to wrestle for a promotion like AEW?
Again, so that's got to be one of the biggest highlights of my career.
Oh.
Um, being asked to come down for AEW was incredible. I'll never forget that experience, and the support of the people that made it happen. Um, I mean, just a top-notch experience. It was down at Universal Studios. We did the tapings. It was kind of during the end of the COVID stuff, so it was a little bit different. But um, wrestling in that studio environment, knowing it'd be televised, and Tony Schiavone and Taz on commentary.
Mhm.
It was really special. Fuego del Sol, incredible talent, incredible talent. The agent for our match was Sanjay Dutt. Being able to just kind of, I really felt at that point in my career and in my life, I was in the best shape of my life. I
Mhm.
had the best gear that I had going, and I just was so confident. And I was at home, not to sound like overconfident, but I just felt like I belonged. Um, it was nice to talk with all the different people that I've idolized and maybe hadn't met yet. So I was able to do that and see a lot of people that I had met and worked with in the past. So the fact that I had a lot of relationships and previous knowledge of a lot of these people helped me in the locker room as well. Just as far as getting over backstage, I guess you could say. So unfortunately, kind of after that appearance is kind of when everything kind of went south for me, on my personal life and different things that kind of took me out of wrestling. But that's definitely one of my crowning achievements, is having that match. I felt like it's one of the best things I've done.
Oh. Mhm. Not many independent wrestlers are fortunate enough to.
Well, and in my situation, I'll say this. I mean, a lot of the guys have done it. They have not, but not everyone. To your point, so it's a few.
Yeah.
A lot of people get the opportunity. I will say this: I was very fortunate to have been hooked up with Fuego del Sol. It was at a moment where he had just started doing his singles matches. They really wanted to put him over as a babyface,
Mhm.
and due to that situation, I wasn't used like a lot of the enhancement talent was being used. I
Mhm.
wasn't sent in and squashed. I mean, if you go back and watch that match, you'll see I had control of that match.
Mhm.
I got most of the offense in on that match. I was able to do my thing in that match, and in the end, I got caught up. Right, kind of a little bit of mistake, a little bit of a misstep, and I, that tornado DDT put me on my dome, and that was it. That'll put
Mhm.
anybody.
Oh.
So I just think I was very fortunate in that regard. I will say a lot of my contemporaries have had that great experience, but I'm very fortunate that I was able to showcase what I can do in an environment because of what his character development needed. So again, it's the same thing with Troy. It's like the planets all lined up, and I was able to have a cool match where I got a lot of offense in and was able to
Mhm.
showcase, what I do.
Exactly. Who are some of the wrestlers you enjoyed watching growing up? Could be
Uh,
professionally, independently.
yeah, I mean, like Dusty Rhodes. I was always a bigger guy when I was a younger kid. I was near 300 pounds for a lot of years of my life. So I always liked Bam Bam Bigelow and Dusty Rhodes and Yokozuna and Big Bang Bader and Big Boss Man. Any of the big guys, Bam Bam Terry Gordy. I always loved these, the bigger guys, that could
Hmm.
move. So I was gravitated towards that. But when I was a younger kid, I really didn't know, like about NWA, WCW, NWA, especially when I was younger. So it just kind of became when I got into wrestling, then it was like devouring, everything I could. But definitely, of course, Ric Flair's, one of my favorites, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff. I mean, I'm going back, but these are the guys that made me want to get into wrestling.
Yeah.
Jake
Plus,
Roberts, I mean, Jake the Snake. I can't not mention Jake Roberts. He's
mm,
absolutely captivated me as a child.
mm, pretty good legends that you named
Yeah,
within those. I've heard of all of them and seen most of their work.
right on.
Is there any promotion once you get back into this world of wrestling that you would want to potentially work for?
Yeah, this time around, I'm going to kind of call it like my last go around, and I don't know how long it's going to last,
Yeah.
but I want to be involved with promotions that want me there, that value me there, and that I know that I can add value myself.
Hmm.
Um, Promotions that do a good job of putting out a nice product. I
Hmm.
really miss being at War in Lima. I was able to wrestle there. They had the War Rumble, which was awesome. I was able to do
Hmm.
that. That meant so much to me. I'd like to get back to Mega Wrestling in Ohio. Sanctuary Pro Wrestling, Sanctuary Fight Club. That's a big one for me. I love that company. They do a great job. I love all the people involved. And I would like to make a return there. Of course, XICW. I've done
Hmm.
something with them, again, just trying to come back, but
Yeah.
my heart's there, of course. Pro Wrestling All Stars. So there's a handful of groups that I still want to work with. But it's not going to be a situation where how you used to be able to find Mysterious Movado pretty much on like most cards.
Yeah.
I want it to be a little bit special this time around, and I want to present something special to you, the fans. So
Hmm.
anywhere that values me and that wants me there, and that fans appreciate me, and where I can make an impact and where I can help some of the younger talent, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And my cats are meowing, so must be feeding time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if this is your last go around, you want to try to make it as special as it can be and not be at like almost every single, not like every single, but
Yeah,
everywhere that you can be.
yeah. It's about quality over quantity.
Hmm.
So look for stay tuned.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all I had for you. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you so much. I just want to say to everybody, if you love pro wrestling, I love you. And thank you so much for everyone supporting outside the ring and for supporting my man Maverick here. Bro, you are a warrior. You got my respect and you got my love. And hey, pro wrestling, it's a hell of a thing, ain't it? Love you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you and you have a good one.
Good night, guys.